in diamond problems, you have two numbers on top and bottom. The side parts of the x are empty right now. So we're going to have to fill each sides of the x. To figure it out, the two numbers that we fill in here have to multiply to get the number on top, and they also have to add to the number on the bottom. So our top number is 48, and our bottom number is 14. So let's just think of the factors of 48. The first factor that comes to mind when I think of diamond problems are, when I think of 48, is 6 and 8. So let's try 6 and 8. We already know that 6 and 8 equal, if you multiply them, they already equal 48. But now we have to see if 6 and 8 add up to 14. And if we do the math real quick, 8 plus 6 does equal 14. So our answer for this diamond problem is going to be 6 and 8. Start to get more advanced in diamond problems. Eventually, you get on to the equations of a diamond problem. The equation that we have here is 2x squared minus 58 plus 56. So the first thing you want to do is multiply the 56 and the 2. If you multiply 56 and 2 equals 112. And then since we have our middle number here, that's going to go on the bottom. But now we have a negative sign in our equation in diamond problem, which is going to make it a little tougher. Since we have a negative here, but there's no negative here, that means both numbers are going to be a negative. Okay, try using negative 56 and 2. Since here, we already know that 56 equals to 112, that's there. Now we have to, instead of adding this time, we're going to subtract since numbers are negative. So we already know that negative 56 minus 2 equals negative 58, which is our bottom number. But our last equation, we're just finished here. But since we have an equation, we're still not done. You see that this 2x is squared. So we are going to make two different equations. The equations are going to be parentheses 2x minus 56, since that was our first number on the side of the x. And then we're going to do 2x minus 2. But we're still not even done here. We have to reduce the two equations. If you divide this equation by 2, you get parentheses x minus 28 parentheses, and you divide this equation by 2, you get x minus 1. This will be your final equation. Teachers normally say to do a system of equations for 3 problems, but I have an easier way. Let's start off with an example. 2 cars leave town at the same time going in the same direction. One car travels at 60 miles an hour. Let's write that down real quick so you remember. And the other travels at 70 miles an hour. How many hours will they would be 35 miles apart? So first we figure out how much of the difference the car speed is. So the difference is going to be 10 miles an hour. Since 10 goes into 3.5 times, the answer would not be 3.5, but it would be 3.5 or 3.5 hours, since we always have to include the units. So 3.5 hours will be your final answer. Recall that the distance traveled formula is d equals rt. Let's try a problem. R equals 44 miles an hour, or miles an hour, and t, which is our time, is going to be 5 hours. The r is going to be our rate, and the d for the formula, which is d equals rt, is going to be our distance. So we don't know what our distance is, but the only thing that we have to do is multiply the rate and the time. And our numbers for the rate and the time is 44 and 5. So the first thing we're going to do is multiply those two numbers. 44 times 5, we all know, is 220. And now we know our distance. Our distance is 220. But the distance is not 220, it's 220 miles. Always remember the unit.